You guys might think broadcasting is just this niche thing. It's where technology sort of comes from. A lot of things start at those high levels, replaceable backgrounds, things like that, and everything else. Those are the kind of things that even just a few years ago, nobody talked about, but everybody's been doing it for weather broadcasts and everything else for years, right? This is a real background behind me and everything else. But if I don't like what we're seeing, if you don't like Grogu, if you don't like, all the stuffed animals that I had behind me and everything else, you'll be able to actually hide that effectively at your house for almost nothing at this point.
Cool special effect.
I've seen better.
We'll fix it in post.
Yeah.
An acquisition and a closure, another place where AI could be taking your job, and more education opportunities at Infocom in June. All that and more next on AV Week. This is AV Week, episode 784, recorded Friday, April 10th, 2026. Immersive AI. This is AV Week, your weekly wrap-up of the biggest news and stories in the AV and the IT world. X2O Media closes their doors. LeGrand AV commits to a full training day at Infocom, and ViewSonic expands its viewboard line with a display built for today's hybrid classroom and conference room. Let's get into it. First up, X2O Media is gone. After more than 20 years in enterprise AV space, the Montreal-based company has ceased operations. Up to 50 jobs are gone. X2O Media was founded in 2006 as a spin-off from Vertigo XO Media, a broadcast graphics automation company also based in Montreal. Barco acquired it in 2014. Stratacache picked it up in 2018, supposedly for only hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now Stratacache is facing a cash crunch, and X2O is one of the casualties. Now, what did they make? The one-room platform that was one of the early leaders in immersive hybrid collaboration. Had tiled walls for remote participants, perspective cameras, all sorts of stuff. Spatial audio was really cool. It was tech that made the in-room and the remote user feel like they were basically in the very same space. Customers included Fox News, Verizon, John Deere, and Accenture. Not exactly small names. It was, of course, ahead of its time, but unfortunately unable to survive the financial pressures. The bottom line here, economic headwinds are absolutely real. When parent companies face a cash crunch, smaller brands in the portfolio don't always make it out. Now watch Stratacache family closely. Scala is in that portfolio. Moving on from loss to continuity, TSL has acquired J.L. Cooper Electronics. J.L. Cooper founder Jim Cooper recently passed away. TSL moved fast, around the clock fast, to secure a future for its brand and its customers. Jim built a 46-year legacy in control interfaces, MIDI controllers, automation panels, synchronization hardware, kind of gear that lives in broadcast studios, music facilities, live events, and radio stations worldwide. Now, the plan is this. TSL will fold J.L. Cooper's products into its Hummingbird control ecosystem. That expands TSL's reach into audio and music production. It's brand new territory for them. Production moves from El Segundo to TSL's base in Northridge, California. J.L. Cooper General Manager Chuck Thompson continues with the brand. In display news, LG is rolling out its 2026 Magnet Micro LED display. Now, stick with me for a second. The name combines magnificent with nit. Now, magnificent is an adjective. Nit is a unit of luminance. If you didn't know that, it's the more numbers, it's brighter. Typical DB LED is 300 to 500. You can get them up to, 1,000, 2,000 nits. Key upgrades include enhanced broadcast, enhanced contrast, deeper blacks, improved grayscale performance for smoother, more realistic imagery. Now, they have added 120 hertz frame support rate support, smoother, more lifelike motion. And there's also a new feature called line-to-dot technology. This is designed to prevent small pixel defects from becoming visible on screen. That is a reliability play. Optical fiber connectivity keeps signals clean in mission-critical environments. Front access alignment simplifies installation and long-term maintenance. Now, target markets for this include auditoriums, conference rooms, control rooms, broadcast studios, and high-end retail. If you are, like many of us, heading to Infocom this June, you might want to get there a day early. Legrand AV is hosting a full pro training day on June 16th, a full day before the show floor opens on June 17th. There are 6 sessions, 8 in the morning, 5 in the afternoon, in room 2506. Topics include AI in AV environments, AV over IP deployment, accessibility design, cloud-based device management, and direct view LED. Each session earns 1 Avixa RU of continuing education credit. Reminder, you have to have 30 every 3 years. Speakers come from across the Legrand brand family, plus partners including Williams AV, AVI SPL, Excite.ai, and Epson. Legrand will also have a full booth presence at C7800, that is in the Central Hall, of course. Brands on display include C2G, Chief, Daylight, Middle Atlantic, Vadio, and Wiremold. And finally, ViewSonic has expanded its viewboard line with a new IFP 41 series. There are 5 sizes, from 55-inch up to 98 inches. It runs Android 16 with EDLA certification, native integration with Google and Microsoft tools right out of the box. Up to 64 simultaneous touch points, octa-core processor, DDR5 memory, built-in microphones, and speakers. Now here's where we're talking about here. This is installer friendly. A single USB-C connection handles video, audio, networking, and power. Less cabling, less complexity. For organizations replacing projectors or aging flat panels, the IFP41 offers a clean upgrade path without disrupting existing workflows. Unless, of course, you got to run the USB-C, and that's a whole different conversation. ViewSonic is entering a pretty crowded field. Samsung, LG, Sharp, they all have competing products. The differentiator here for them isn't just the specs, it's the ecosystem integration and ease of management. Expect to hear those terms heavily in the next year or two in the AV world. That is your AV news for the week. Stick around for this week's roundtable, where we will tackle another place where AI is enhancing AV and a preview of the NAB show. That conversation is next. This is AV Week. Welcome back with us to discuss a handful of more stories. First and foremost, my compatriot and the person who gets in trouble with me a lot at trade shows, Steph Beckett from Rave Pubs. Welcome, ma'am.
Thanks for having me. Pleasure as always, Tim.
Absolutely. We got to hang out in Vegas a couple weeks ago at ISC West. We're doing the exact same thing in the exact same city in a couple more weeks, and we'll talk about that in a second. And last, a guy I've known for a long time, and finally getting him on, Jimmy Vaughn from Microsoft. Welcome, sir.
Thanks for having me, Tim. Good to be here, finally.
Finally. You know, I forget. I've been doing this for so many years. Cindy Davis from our friends over of AV Technology, I finally had her on, and I just kind of realized one day I have never had Cindy on. I have never had Jimmy on, and I am negligent in my duties. How about that? It's all
good. We, like you said, we all see each other at these shows and all the different places that we go to and everything else. So a lot of people don't know, but we're always in communication in the background, even if we're not on each other's shows.
Yes, 100%.
That's crazy, because Tim actually told me it was because he hated Microsoft that he never had you on.
Listen. Oh, hang on. There are different levels of that statement. There's Teams, there's, anyhow. Let's move on. Speaking of shows that we are both going to, NAB is coming up. It is traditionally a broadcast show. NAB stands for National Association of Broadcasters, for crying out loud. However, last couple of years, it has evolved, is the best way I'm going to put that. There are things like immersive technology. There are companies that would traditionally have done virtual backgrounds that are saying, oh, by the way, you can take this virtual background and stuff it into your Microsoft Teams environment or stuff it into your Zoom environment. So taking the same technology that makes Mandalorian look, oh my God, you can make your CFO look, oh my God. And that is a real presentation I was given last year. Here's some folks that are going to be there. PTZ Optics, Barco, Christie, Sennheiser, Shure, Sony, the list goes on and on. These are the same folks that you're going to see at Infocom as well. That's kind of why I'm getting here with this. Steph and I will both be there. We will both have dedicated pages we're going to do another segment together at NAB. So, Steph, why? Why are we paying attention to NAB? Why are we going out to Vegas? As much as I love Vegas, why are we going out to Vegas for another time for a little over 4 or 5 days?
Well, the easiest answer is that AV folks have started paying attention to the broadcast methods for sending information. That is SMPTE, 2110, IPMX. Those are starting to be alphabet soups that we pay attention to in AV and are utilizing to send information back and forth. I think that we are in the AV world starting to really learn from broadcast where we didn't before. Another really easy answer is because, like you said, we're taking all of those like predominantly broadcast technologies, making things easy and streamable, and we need those in AV now. We want to stream from classrooms. We want to stream from our houses of worship. We want our CEO to have that broadcast quality, call or presentation. So the easiest way for us to be able to quickly learn about that when we started needing to do that during COVID was to learn from broadcast and learn from that industry. So I think that the more that we need to do things that were typically only that industry, the more that we're going to kind of start to converge. And that's why you and I were like, well, we should probably start covering that too.
We should, absolutely. I think this is my 3rd or 4th year now covering it. Jimmy, we said that you're working for Microsoft. That is currently your job. That is who you work for now. But you have a long history, including broadcast as a background. So take me through, 30, 40, not 40 years ago. You're not that old, but 30 years ago. That old. 30 years ago, that evolution and how we've gotten to this point where, again, there's a lot of crossover between what we can call traditional AV and broadcast AV, and how those worlds are overlapping now.
I think it's all about they've become consumable. If you even think of conference rooms, or let's take it out of the world of broadcasting, but take it to conference rooms. A lot of the conference room solutions that we used to do were 7-8-figure rooms that we had. And that wasn't too long ago, if you think about it. Now a lot of that technology has been absorbed, and it's come down to a price point that it's consumable and it's scalable to that point. So a lot of the things that may start at NAB actually come down to the pro AV world as that technology and that price point and everything else becomes something that the world can consume. You talked about it, replaceable backgrounds, things like that, and everything else. Those are the kind of things that even just a few years ago nobody talked about, but everybody's been doing it for weather broadcasts and everything else for years, right? But now that technology has actually come down to a consumable price point for everybody at home. I mean, this is a real background behind me and everything else. But if I don't like what you're seeing, if you don't like Grogu, if you don't like, all the stuffed animals that I had behind me and everything else, you'll be able to actually hide that effectively at your house for almost nothing at this point, where all of that technology comes in. So while you guys might think broadcasting is just this niche thing, it's where technology sort of comes from. A lot of things start at those high levels, and as they become more and more adoptable and technology becomes more and more achievable, those kind of things come into the play. I mean, even in conference rooms, what are we doing now? We're taking camera technology and making it like a TV broadcast where you have multiple cameras and there's a director inside of that room that's automatically deciding what you see. But it's deciding what you see based upon the broadcast industry. Why? Because it's what we're all used to. We are not breaking barriers where we are doing something that is new and everything else. We're just doing what you're used to. Because what does everybody enjoy? What I'm used to. It is hard to do things that are brand new. Like if we take a different camera angle that you've never seen. Why do people, think of the conference room and what happened with center of camera tables and everything else. It was this view. We hated it. Everybody hated it because that's not what you're used to. When you see somebody on TV, they're talking to you. When you see somebody in person, they're talking to you. We need that angle and everything else. So, while this may be, you might think of it as a niche broadcast, what you're going to see there will eventually come to the pro consumer AV side as well.
I was reminded something. I have unfortunately been doing this for a long enough time. I was pitched something from VizRT last at ISE and also at IBC last year. And I have been around long enough to remember when the kernel of that was used in the TriCaster as virtual sets. Now, go ahead and go out and look up on Wikipedia about how long ago that was. I want to say that was 15 or 16 years ago. And it was groundbreaking at the time, right? Because what you did is you put somebody in a green screen, right? But they had these computer-generated backgrounds, computer-generated sets, and you could fly around it and this, that, and the other. It was all slick, and it was, oh my gosh, this, that, and the other. Now, 15 years later, they're using it to spice up your PowerPoint and your Excel spreadsheet. So yeah, it's amazing. All right, next story from Oman, Sohar, Oman specifically. An installation called Omnia, it was built by Vivid Studios, is being called the quote-unquote first fully AI-driven immersive experience. This is not technically AI as a gimmick. It is content that is generated by AI, visitor interactions, and mediated by AI agents. Lighting cues are triggered by AI decision-making. Even the narrative arc of the experience evolves through data captured from visitors in real time. Is a multilingual digital human that is on stage. Her name is Amani. She is a large LED canvas who responds conversationally in Arabic or English, and as she speaks, the lighting changes as well as video content shifting. Physical environment responds in sync. It's slick. I can't sit here and say it's not. It's pretty impressive, but it's one of those things where I go, this is all AI. We're in trouble. So, Jimmy, when you look at a project like this, what is your reaction?
My reaction is this is just the tip of the iceberg for what AI can do. And I'll be honest, I know that there's some people that are skeptical out there and everything else. But I was going to do a speech on AI for an AV conference a little while ago. And one of the things that I was going to hit with was a sentence of, if you remember in the 90s, and again, I'm older than everybody thinks I am and everything else, but I was doing websites in the 90s and things like that, right? And if you remember in the 90s, a lot of the naysayers said, you know what? Nobody wants to buy clothes from the internet. Why? Because they want to try it on before they purchase it and everything else, right? When was the last time that you were at a mall, Tim? AI is that same sort of thing where you're going to get the naysayers and everything else. But this is the worst where it's going to be. And there are some things, this is moving faster than many, and I don't want to say anybody, but many people can come up with. You know, one of the things from Anthropic this week was they actually have a model that's so powerful, it found so many exploits that they're not going to release it. And there's governments around the world that are now looking and saying, okay, what happens with this and everything else? Because this is how fast they're moving. Some of those exploits, and I will say, some of them are going to be in the AV industry and everything else. Yep. They're devices that may be 10 and 20 years old that can no longer be patched, that can no longer be fixed. But what did this model do? Well, it looked at it and it said, all right, I know 10 exploits. If I put them all together, now I can invade your systems and everything else. So security, all these kind of things. But you're talking about a broadcast system that's actually doing this. This is the tip of the iceberg, because once things start to go and everything else, and I think one of the things I see for these immersive events, they might not be the same experience 2 times in a row, because things can start to look, and if there's more people inside of the room, then they can adjust the audio levels. If there's less people inside of the room and you want to focus this at that, there's a lot of things. Now, creatively, it's sort of going to be challenging, I think, sometimes for this to come up with, hey, I want to stick with this and not go off of that. But yeah. AI as a whole, wow, I can't, and I do have access to things that are, NDA and not out yet and things like that. And all I can tell you is, if this is the worst that we're getting, wow, are we in for some stuff in the future?
You hit on something there, and Steph, I'm going to let you chime in on that, but you hit on something there, and that is the repeat customer business model of this. Because it is AI driven, it is AI content based on the audience's reaction, you're right. That means no two performances are going to be the same. And, you know, who was it? The Eagles just played at the Sphere, right? About a month or so ago. You go see an Eagles show, you're going to go see an Eagles show, and you'll probably see the same Eagles show, especially if it's the same tour, right? Train is on tour this summer, celebrating, I think it was 25 years of Drops of Jupiter, which also makes me feel old. Yeah. Anyhow, but I've seen Train. Now I'm going to go again because I remember the album, and you know it's this, that, and the other. But this gives a new wrinkle into that whole never see the same show twice aspect of it. All right, Steph, you see this. What was your initial reaction?
My initial reaction was, oh no, like this would be so great and so cool, but we're also assuming a big thing here. It's that it works all the time. Because I think that when you have content run by AI with AI agents in charge of that, with lighting cues driven by AI decision making, like it's the AI backed by AI, backed by AI. And I don't know that we're quite ready yet because I've never been through an experience like this where there was no failure when it was like entirely driven by AI. It's like there's things that want to buffer a lot, or you don't ask the question how the AI agent thinks you're going to ask the question, so then it doesn't quite work. So I would like to see how this actually runs, is my thing. Yeah. But Jimmy, I will agree with you. Like, we are tip of the iceberg. This is just kind of like a fun, immersive installation driven by AI, but AI in the use cases you were talking about, like finding holes in terms of cybersecurity. We haven't even gotten into quantum computing and how AI is going to work with that. And like, that's insane. That's probably like a 5 to 10 years us problem, but I don't know. I think that this is probably very cool if it works all the time, which I doubt it does.
It's funny stuff because a lot of the stuff that I do and everything else, the early models that we were using and everything, it actually gave better results if you were nice to it. I will say this: the models that I am using right now, you talked about getting things wrong. I'll give you an example. I was actually asking one of the models to generate a PowerPoint for me, just a single slide. I want one slide about this and everything else, right? And what the model did was it actually returned me 7 slides. And the latest models, you can be very strict with them, and they accept that criticism better than if you're nice. Mm-hmm. So I said, how do you count? Because I am counting 7 slides. And it said, you're right, let me redo it. And it did it now in 5 slides. And I said, please, I only want 1 slide. Don't make me repeat myself. Right? And it's like you're talking to a human now. Mm-hmm. Who didn't understand your lunch order.
Yeah.
But Vaughn, now you're on a list somewhere.
Oh, for sure.
Yes.
And when they take over, you're going to be the
coming.
Oh, yeah. My chat GPT is literally donezo. I'm out of here if it takes over, because I am so mean to that thing. I'll have it run something and I'm like, does that look correct to you? And it's like, you're right, blah, blah. And I'm like, don't tell me I'm right. Fix it.
But you're right about the agent side, too. I mean, you talked about the agents running lighting, agents running the production, agents running this. The key to all of this is having that agent-to-agent protocol so that buffering doesn't happen, so that they can actually talk to each other. If you've heard about OpenClaw, Claude Claw, all the different claws that have come out in recent ones that actually run locally and everything else. One of the biggest things is it's actually running all those agents and doing things in the background. And the key to their effectiveness is to be able to talk to each other.
Yeah.
This is no longer just, I want you to do one task. These are things that are going to run and do things in tandem with each other so that eventually you're going to become the agent boss. I don't think something like the event that the Omni event that you're talking about, the article that you're talking about, Tim, I don't think that they're going to let that run completely free of humans.
Yeah.
I think that there's an agent boss that lives there that probably does make sure that everything's running in time and everything's going through. And if something does happen, they're able to actually react quickly inside of that environment.
Which is a great point, because someone asked me during a launch event yesterday if I thought like AI was going to take all of our jobs. And I said no, because there ultimately has to be a human correcting it. Like there ultimately has to be a human feeding it something, because I think if it's just like a big AI loop, like it's going to lose. Like it needs a human to give it stuff to generate, you know, it can't generate stuff its own self. Like even ChatGPT or Claude or any of the models, they learn because we feed it stuff that it learns from. So ultimately, like, I don't think it's going to take all of our jobs. And the example that I gave was Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, because the dad like had the job screwing the toothpaste like lid on all of the tubes, but then they got a robot to do that. But then he got his job back because he needed to repair the robot that used to be able to do his job. And so I don't think, like, I think that it will maybe replace some jobs, but it will also create new ones.
Well, that's where one of the best analogies that I have is here at Microsoft. You know, back in the day, the last century and everything else, think about what was the number one job that everybody had. It was centered around agriculture.
Yeah.
And then the tractor comes in and everybody goes, oh, it's never going to replace us and go through things and everything else. This is that kind of generational shift that we're going to have. It's not necessarily going to replace your job, but your job may be 100% different than it looks today. You know, think of it in the 50s, how many people had typewriters versus computers.
Yeah.
Does anybody do their job now, you know, without the help of some sort of machinery that's actually going through it? That's a different way of actually working and everything else. And I think that's the way that we're going to progress with this. I think, to your point, I mean, vibe coding, do I know Python? No. But you know what? I can write Python today just by sitting in front of a Claude console. And it's not pretty. It's just CLI, a command line interface that I'm actually interacting with. But to your point, I am giving it the instructions. I think, and I don't know how far out this is, there will be a time where you might not necessarily have to give it instructions. You may just be able to actually walk up to something and have it do something on its own that you were expecting. And that's the experience that a lot of companies are sort of looking for in the robotics field and things like that as well.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting, because there is absolutely, if a human is consuming it, this is Tim's 2 cents, a human has to be involved in some way, shape, or form in that chain, because I have yet to see an AI agent be able to replicate humanity, because we are complicated and we are confusing and we do not make sense. And that's one thing a computer wants to do, is it wants to make sense, and we don't. So until they can come up with an AI version of Tim, God help us all, I think that we'll be okay. All right. That's going to do it for us, guys. Steph Beckett, thank you, ma'am. How do people connect with you or Rave Pubs?
They can connect with Rave Pubs on ravepubs.com. If you would like to read our end user publication, that is avbuyersclub.com. So if you're a tech manager, that is going to be news that's more for you. We are on every form of social media. I would say we're most active on LinkedIn, so definitely check that out. I am also on LinkedIn, and I would say I'm about medium active. I used to be active on Twitter. I don't really like that anymore. So yeah, LinkedIn, yeah.
And I mentioned that you and I are both heading to NAB, so what is the place where we can go straight to get your NAB news?
You can just go to ravepubs.com and you will see it there. Also, we will be filtering it through our LinkedIn feeds as well.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Jimmy Vaughn, thank you, sir. Pleasure. How can people connect with you? And if they've never heard of Microsoft, how do they connect with Microsoft?
LinkedIn.
All right.
Don't try to navigate Microsoft. Don't ask me how to navigate Microsoft. That's the company, the big thing and everything else. But you know what? I mean, I do represent Microsoft Teams rooms a lot on LinkedIn and everything else. I will be getting more and more active. I've actually taken a step back from LinkedIn lately, but I think I need to get back to it. I think there's a lot of information and a lot of things, especially around AI. Tim, you know, I can talk all day about AI and demo and do things like that, but I think there's a lot of need. So connect to me on LinkedIn, surrounding Teams rooms and everything else. All good.
Very good. My name is Tim Albright. Don't follow me anywhere because it's not very interesting, but go by the website, AVNation.tv. That's AVNation.tv. You will find this program and a host of others. We have a brand new Women in AV that you can check out. Our host, Erica Carroll, is joined by my old friend, Bren Walker, where they talk with a woman from Australia, which I found fascinating. She is Samantha Bennett from the Australian National University, talking about inclusivity in the audio space. You can check that out. I am also heading with stuff to NAB, so you can check out our coverage there. If you want to read stuff that I write that has nothing to do with technology, you can connect with me on LinkedIn, but go by the website if you would, please. AVNation.tv. That's AVNation.tv. Thanks so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. That is all the time we have for AV Week.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
This is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.